there, fellow hungry travelers. Mark here with Wolters World, and today we're in Cordoba, Spain. And today we're going to talk about what you should eat when you come here to Spain. But we're not just going to talk about the food when you're here in Spain. We're also going to talk about things you should know as a tourist coming here when it comes to eating times, how people eat, things you need to know about, so you're better prepared to enjoy all the great food that's here. And believe me, it's a lot more than tapas. And this time, we're gonna do a little bit differently. I'm gonna have the tips from here in Cordoba, but then also I'm gonna have us talking about the food when we're in Barcelona. So let's get this mixed together. First things first though, you might wanna know is when do you go eat? Because the thing is, in Spain, they eat later. Okay, so like if you're used to going to have lunch at like 11:30 or something like that, it's not gonna happen. The restaurants tend to open up for service at noon or maybe 1 o'clock. So if you want an early lunch, it's gonna be very hard to find something, okay? So just know, lunchtime is like 1, 2, 3 o'clock, okay? After 3 o'clock, some of the restaurants will close down their kitchen and they don't open up again until 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and that's when you have dinner. Dinner is more 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night than it is earlier. So if you're coming from, I'm from Illinois, used to having dinner at 5 or 6 o'clock, it's not gonna happen here in Spain, okay? Now, if you're gonna go to a tourist city like Madrid or here in Barcelona or Seville, you will be able to get food any time of the day. It won't be much of a problem, but just saying, if you wanna get to really authentic places, most of them won't be serving dinner until about 7 or 8 o'clock at night, and they might be closed in the afternoon, okay? So I just want to give you that kind of pointer to start off. Now, talking about starting off, or starters, the entradas, maybe you want to have some snacks when you are here. And one of the great things about Spain is they have this tapas culture. Tapas are little small plates of food, and it can be a lot of different things, but in small portions. Like it might be some calamari or cuttlefish, which is chocos, or you could get patatas bravas, which are these little fried potatoes with a special sauce on top. They're my favorite. They're to die for. And the thing is, you go to these tapas bars, and you'll have a beer or a wine, or if you want a Coke, whatever, and you're gonna go there and they'll give you a little plate of food. Sometimes you'll get it for free if you're drinking. Most of the times you might pay a little money to get that, and it is really cool because you have these snacks, you can try all these different things, and you'll see in the cafes, they'll have kind of like a glass thing out there that has all the different ones out there, and you say, oh, I want one of those, and one of those, okay? And pick it out and they'll serve it to you. Now, if you want a bigger plate than just a tapas, you want a bigger version of that, you get a ración. The ración is the big plate of it, okay? And it's significantly more expensive, but I just want to give you an idea for that. Okay, one of the best parts of eating here in Spain is actually going out for tapas, and there's a few things I think you should know before you go. One, tapas are just a small plate. They'll give you a little sampling of a lot of the different foods you can have here. And back in the day, you used to get a lot of tapas for free, and I want to tell you this, don't expect to get tapas, the little treats, for free. Many places here in Spain, you might get some potato chips or some olives for free, but aside from that, it's not as common. Now, if you go to Granada, Granada's still famous for its free tapas they give out. But if you're in Barcelona, Madrid, Seville, don't expect any of those free tapas to pop up. But just know that if you do go to tapas and you have the tapas, you go out, that's a great place to actually meet the locals and hang out and practice your Spanish and meet people, because everybody's there having the patatas bravas, the croquetas and things. I mean, I talked about the tapas you want to have when you're here, but that's just something to kind of know about when you go there. And also when you're ordering, there's tapas, which is a small plate. Then you'll see sometimes ración or raciones. That's a much bigger plate. And sometimes they call them platos. And so you want to be aware, because a tapas might be 2, 3, 4 euros, but if you get a ración or a plato, like the whole plate, then it could be, 8, 9, 10, 12 euros, and all of a sudden it's not as cheap as you think it is. Now, some of the other tapas you might have, or some of the little snacks you might have when you're here, my personal favorite combination is manchego cheese, which is a goat cheese, a dry goat cheese. It's fantastic. You'll definitely want to have that when you're here. Also, you have jamón ibérico, or Iberian like ham. It looks like kind of like a cross between ham and bacon and not cooked and stuff, but it is fantastic. Those are two things you got to have together because they just go perfectly together. Another thing, if you want to get a little snack, they have what are called croquettes, which is my personal favorite is a ham croquette, which is like imagine chopped up pieces of ham and mashed potatoes kind of smushed together into a ball, or maybe an oval thing, and they fry them up, and oh my God, they are so good. If you get somebody's grandma, abuela, to cook some for you, dude, they are to die for, okay? So definitely try the croquettes. Another thing you might look out for when you're looking for this snacking kind of stuff is what we call pinchos. And pinchos, it's a piece of bread and they'll have stuff on top. It might be meat, it could be some kinds of cheeses, it could be some kind of vegetables, all kinds of different things. Here in Barcelona, it's very popular to have pinchos and cava, which cava is the
bubbly, sparkling wine they have here in the Catalonia region, and you have those. So that's another really tasty, like, little treat to have. If you're looking for something light, especially from Andalusia, is gazpacho. It's the cold vegetable tomato soup that you hear about. Look, on a day like today where it's a little cool and wet, maybe not the best day for gazpacho. But if you're going to be here in Spain when it's 30 degrees Celsius, 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and it's hot, and you're like, oh, I just want something cool, gazpacho makes a really great, like, lunch snack, whatever. Cold soup, it really, like, refreshes you, so that's really nice, okay?
Now here's the thing, when you're going to be here in Spain, you're going to see a lot of tourist restaurants and tourist, like, picture boards of food. I will tell you this, the more pictures they have, probably the more touristy is, so do be aware of that. However, don't think you can't use that to your advantage, because you can look on those tourist food boards to know what some of the food is, and then go to another local restaurant that doesn't have pictures, and you at least know kind of what you're going to be getting when you do order that food, so that can be helpful. So don't think those tourist restaurant pictures aren't going to be helpful, because they can help out sometimes. And one of the things you get here, like the jamón ibérico, I was talking about, that's the expensive ham. Like, that's the 2 or 3 times more expensive than like the jamón serrano, which is another ham you can have. So do be aware. So if you want to get the nice stuff, you ask for jamón or Spanish ham, know it's going to be pricey. Ask for the other ones, you can save money that way. But I do recommend you have the jamón ibérico at least one time, because that's the good stuff. And I'll be honest with you, when you're here in Spain, you'll notice they love their cured meats, the salamis, the chorizos, the jamons. Like, this is a thing here. So just know when people ask you, what's true Spanish food? Just go to your local deli. That's true Spanish food. And if you go to the grocery stores here, you will see aisles and aisles of deli meats, like the cured meats here, because they love it. And it's not just jamon, okay? So be aware of that. And one thing some tourists mentioned to me they were kind of upset with, they're like, Mark, why do they keep giving us these small beers? And I'm like, well, one thing you have to realize, you get the small beers here, especially in the south of Spain, because it's so hot in the summertime, your beer heats up too fast. So you want to drink the smaller beer so it stays cold, because they do like their cold beer here. They like their cold wine here, because you know what? They don't like the insane heat either. Hence why you have the break from 2 to 4 in some places to get out of that heat. So just know that when you're eating that, yeah, if you're having a drink, it might be in a smaller cup, so you might need to order more.
Now, if you're looking for something a bit bigger, you want to get your full meal going on here, one thing I will say is, if you're going to be having your big meal, I recommend having it at lunch, because they have these things in Spain called lunch menus. And it's actually a law saying that every restaurant has to have a 2-course meal that can be accessible, i.e. financially accessible, to the average everyday person, okay? And what's cool is you'll get a starter and a main course for a really good price. And you can go to really good restaurants and they still have to have it. But one thing I will warn you, some restaurants and waiters sometimes forget to tell the tourists about the lunch special. So make sure you ask for the lunch menu, just so you can see what's on there. It gives you a chance to experiment with new things. Now, what are you going to eat when you're here for those main dishes? Obviously, the most popular dish you hear about is paella. Paella is rice and seafood and all kinds of stuff mixed together. If you get the original one from Valencia, there's like some chicken in there maybe, all kinds of different stuff that goes into it, and it is fantastic. But I will warn you, you will see a lot of restaurants and cafes by tourist destination, tourist spots, right? And they'll have a whole window of different kinds of paella that you can buy. Basically, it's a microwave paella, okay? It tastes horrible. If you're gonna have paella, make sure you find a friend, go to a restaurant, and they'll say, look, it's at least for 2 or 3 people, because then you get the big, huge wok of it, and it is fantastic. And if you get to meet some of the fantastic Spanish people here, and they invite, again, abuela, mama, gotta love her, if she can cook that for you, you will die of happiness, because it is so good. So that's the first thing I always recommend to have, but not in some kind of tourist destination, all right, or tourist spot. The other thing you want to have when you're here is seafood. You can have garlic prawns or garlic shrimp. That's a really popular one here. There's all kinds of great seafood, grilled fish. Oh man, the fish here is fantastic. All throughout the country, we really enjoy it. Jocelyn even says, like, Mark, you've got to talk about the fish here. I love the seafood in Spain. It is great. However, I will warn you, when you go to a restaurant, especially in tourist areas, they're gonna say, oh, would you like our fish of the day? And they'll show you, oh, it's this fish, and you see the price, and you think, wow, that's really good. That's the price per gram, okay? We've actually gotten nailed this way. I thought we were gonna spend about 15 euros for our fish, and we ended up spending 80 euros for the fish. I was like, oh my God. So just watch out for that. Now the fish is worth the money, but just know that maybe look on the menu to see the prices better there, to see what's going on. Grilled octopus is good here too if you want to get some other seafood stuff. And if you want to get meats, they have some really good meats here, but I recommend if you want to get like steak and beef kind of stuff, like really hearty food, go to a Basque restaurant. Man, that stuff is to die for. It is so good. I know what the Basques do with their meats, but holy moly, that is some good stuff, okay?
I think it's really important to mention when you're talking about food in Spain, you have to mention the regionality of the food, because no matter where you go in Spain, the local produce will influence, the local production will influence what is popular to have there. So for example, here in Cordoba, there's a lot of dishes you just find here, like flamenquín, which is a pork loin wrapped up in the roll, basically with ham and cheese in it, and they deep fry it. It's something that's very special from here. You don't get it very many other parts of the country. Pimientos de Padrón from Galicia, like those are a little bit more popular these days, but that's a thing from there. And wherever you go in Spain, you're going to want to eat the local dishes because they will be significantly better than just the overall plain Spanish dishes. So do be aware of that. And going along with the regional like food, there's also regional tapas you're going to have when you go to different spots that might be different. You know, like pinchos, which are bread with, you know, meat or cheese or seafood on top. That's very popular in the Basque Country. But if you have pinchos here in Cordoba, those are little skewers of like pork or maybe chicken you might have. And so it does really change from the tapas, the eating, to also the wine. So if you're here in Cordoba, they like their sweet wines, the Pedro Jimenez. And if you go to Seville, there's a different kind of wine they like there. It's also sweet wine, but different places you go, they focus on different things. Like cava is very popular in Barcelona because that's where it's from. However, if you're in other parts of Spain, you're not really drinking cava very often. It's more of a celebratory or kind of like end of meal thing, whereas in Barcelona, you might have it right away. And the drinks, when you come to Spain, there's some things that are kind of everywhere. You know, there is the sangria, which is popular with tourists, but also locals will have it sometimes as well. But I've noticed locals will like to mix it up a little bit. Maybe you have it with cava instead of the red wine, or you might have a white wine version. I've seen a lot of different versions of it, so you can have that. A popular summer kind of refreshing wine is tinto de verano, which is basically red wine mixed with, I would say, like a Sprite kind of drink to make it a much more refreshing thing. The beer you have here will be really cold because they know it's really hot here in the summer, so they do a very, very good job having really cold beer. And when you go around, there's also non-alcoholic drinks you're going to get. Their favorite chocolate drink to have is Colacao, and if you say Colacao is not better than, if you say Nestle Quick or something is a better chocolate milk than Colacao, you will not have friends when you're here in Spain. That's like a really important thing to remember. So if you're a Coke drinker and you come here to Spain and you order a Coke, they a lot of times will default to Coke Zero. So if you want like a normal Coke, make sure it's not a zero, because what I've seen the last couple of years, it defaults back to, oh, Coke Zero? You're like, no, just a normal Coke. So that's one thing. But you don't have to drink unhealthy drinks when you're here. I mean, they do have, you can drink the water, it's just fine. I do recommend when you're traveling around, especially in the summer, if like you're here in Cordoba, Granada, Seville, Malaga, where it's really, really hot in the summertime, so it's important to stay hydrated. And you can drink the water here, no problem. Just get a water bottle and refill it up. So when you're looking at service in Spanish restaurants, you also need to know, don't expect fast service, and that means getting your seat, getting your food, getting your drinks, or getting your bill. No matter how much you look like you're ready to leave, they will not bring your cuenta until you ask for la cuenta. Okay, so make sure you ask for your bill, otherwise you might sit there for a while, and even if you do ask for la cuenta, it might take some time to get it, because I saw a few people here this square get a little upset with the servers, and I'm like, dude, you gotta specifically ask them. And sometimes that means you gotta walk up to the bar and pay, but do be aware of that. Service can take a little time, and you do need to ask for la cuenta, the bill, sometimes to get what you need. Also, if you need to use the restroom, remember, los aseos is the bathroom, or servicios, toiletas. There's lots of different words for it, but a lot of times, a lot of restaurants and cafes, the toilets are only for paying clients. So sometimes you might need to grab a coffee or something to use it. Some places, though, they're pretty friendly. They're like, yeah, go ahead, it's not a big deal. But don't be surprised if you need to use the bathroom. You might have to wait a bit or buy something. Now, another thing I think you should know when you go out to eat here in Spain is the bread. A lot of times, it might be free, and sometimes it might not be free. So do look on the menu, because a lot of times they'll say, oh, for the bread and the little things, it's €1 or €1.60 or €2. So don't be surprised if there's like a little add-on on your bill for that bread. So if you don't want the bread, just say, no, gracias, no necesito el pan. No, I don't need the bread, because that can, add a little bit on there. Also, don't be weirded out if people just put the bread straight on the table. Like when they grab the bread from the basket, they put their bread next to their plate on the table. That is a total normal thing here. I've seen tourists going, oh my gosh, their bread's on the table. That's gross. What are they doing? That's just how they eat it here, okay? So don't be freaked out about it. And also, don't expect butter with that bread. If you get some oil, that's great. But a lot of times, you're just using to sop up some of the great food and stew stuff that comes along with your great food, like the oxtail here in Cordoba. Now, when you're looking at eating times, when you come here to Spain, there's some things you need to realize. One, breakfast, desayuno, is not really a big thing here in Spain. So if you're going to be staying at a hotel, make sure they have breakfast. And if you're going to be doing an Airbnb or you're going to be doing apartment rentals and you're going to be here for a while, make sure you're going to the store to pick yourself up some breakfast stuff, because a lot of the restaurants and cafes don't open in the morning. So there's not a lot of stuff for you to get. I mean, you might be able to get a coffee and maybe a little pastry or something, but this isn't a big breakfast culture. So be aware of that, because that will impact, the food you have at restaurants, the food options you have at breakfast. That's one thing. I think also I need to mention this about paella. When you're going to have paella when you're here, that is more of a lunchtime thing, because it takes so long to prepare. A lot of restaurants won't even have it as an option at dinner time. So do be aware of that. So if you want to have a good paella, find a paella place and have it for lunch, okay? Now, when it comes to dinner, a lot of restaurants don't start serving until 8 o'clock at night. And you notice people might not show up until 9:30, 10 o'clock at night for dinner, because eating dinner here is much later than probably within where you're from. And you do need to adjust for that. Now, if you're in very big tourist places like Barcelona or Malaga, the Costa del Sol, there will be places that are open the whole time to eat. But if you're into smaller towns, if you're in a place like here in Cordoba, or if you're in smaller villages, or you're going to a place like Girona, if you're doing day trips from Barcelona, that can be an issue. Also, those late night dinners, don't be surprised if you see it like, some small kids and some grandmas out eating dinner at 10, 11 o'clock at night. That's not an uncommon thing, so don't freak out about it. A little cultural thing you need to know about eating in Spain, and that is you're never really eating alone. Even if you're sitting at a table by yourself, there's the table next to you, and you're kind of like a team. So when their food comes, you give it a look and give them a nod. When your food comes, they give you the nod. They'll tell you buen provecho, and you tell them buen provecho, which is like enjoy your meal kind of thing. And it's funny because you will comment on their food and they will comment on your food sometimes. So do be aware that you're never truly alone when it comes to eating in Spain.
Now, after you've had all your meats and your tapas and things like that, you might want something sweet. And they've got some really good sweets here in Spain. Some of the ones I like to have, I love flan. It's like a pudding with a caramel pudding with a little caramel sauce on top. It is one of my favorite things to have when I am here. Pretty much every restaurant will have some version of it, or you can go to one of the mini supermercados around the cities. They'll have it. You can just get some there. It's a really great treat. Crema Catalan, or Catalan cream, or we call it creme brulee. But don't say creme brulee here, they might smack you. Creme Catalan is a really good one too. Another thing you might see at Christmas is turron, which is kind of like a nougat. I don't know, sometimes it looks like a peanut brittle, sometimes it looks like a candy bar, but it's kind of an almond-based candy thing. That's a really typical dish, especially at Christmas. It's not a dish, it's like a bar of candies kind of stuff that you'll break up and stuff, kind of like peanut brittle. Another thing is you want to have churros con chocolate. So you have like this really thick hot chocolate. It's almost like chocolate syrup, and it's hot, is so good. And then you take the churros, which are basically fried donut batter. They just cut it off in this tube, fry it up right there, give it to you. Oh my God, they are so good. And you'll see a lot of stands that will sell churros and chocolate on the streets, and you just get it there and enjoy it that way, okay? Now, if you want another little snack on the street, you have what are called bocadillos. I know it's not a sweet thing, but it's another snack you're looking at. A bocadillo is just a baguette, half a baguette, and inside they either put jamón, ham, or they might put cheese in it, or ham and cheese, or you might get tortilla española. And tortilla española, it's egg, onion and potato and olive oil, and they cook it and it becomes this like hard egg thing. And sometimes you'll have it by itself, or sometimes they'll put it in the sandwich. So when you see that egg sandwich bit like Subway thing out there, sub sandwich thing, that's tortilla española. It's just eggs, onion, and potato, and a lot of olive oil, okay? So there is that. Now, if you're looking at what you're gonna drink when you're here, obviously the big thing here is wine. Wine in Spain is really good, and it's really affordable. So if you wanna get a crianza, you can have that, that's gonna be good. The vino de la casa, the house wine, you'll be fine with that pretty much anywhere you go. So I'd stick to that. But different regions have their own kind of wines and stuff like that. Here in Catalonia, you wanna have cava. Cava is sparkling wines, so like a champagne kind of thing, but here it's cava though, okay? okay? And that's really famous here. There's actually cava bars where you go have your tapas and cava and stuff like that here in Barcelona. It is really cool. Other things you might drink, the beers that are here, there's San Miguel, there's Cruz Campo. They're not, I mean, if you're coming from, you know, Germany and the Czech Republic, you probably will not be too impressed. So you might want to stick to the wine or the cava. And the thing is, wherever you are in Spain, make sure you ask your hotel concierge or at the restaurant, what's a traditional local dish? Because by eating the local stuff, you get a lot more fresh, and they have some pretty different things out there. Here you have butifada, which is a kind of blood sausage thing that you'll eat with beans. Very traditional dish here. Do you like it? Do you not like it? It doesn't matter. It's a traditional dish of here. You might want to try that. One thing I like when I go to Santiago, you know, if you're going to do the Camino de Santiago to Santiago de Compostela, you go there and they have pimientos de padrón if you come in season. There's these little peppers that are usually mild, but every like 15th one is like, oh my God, that's hot. And that's one thing I always love when I go up to Santiago. Obviously the gazpacho and Andalusia is probably the best, but you do have, you know, and the meat in Basque, like I told you before, each region has kind of its own thing, so make sure you do try that there. So if you want the best paella, you know, go to Valencia where it's from and all kinds of stuff like that. Anyway, I hope this kind of helps you get an idea of what you should eat and drink and things like that when you do come to Spain. Oh, one thing, if you're looking to pay, you can pay with a credit card, you can pay cash, you know, euros for your food here, no big deal. I will say though, you do not have to tip. There's no tipping here. Sometimes they don't even give you an option when you play with a credit card to put a tip on there. But if you do want to leave a tip, 5% is plenty, okay? But you don't have to leave a tip here in Spain.
So I hope that helped whet your appetite for coming to Spain. If you want to learn more, maybe the don'ts of visiting Spain, mistakes that tourists make when they come to Spain, check us out on our website at woltersworld.com. We're also on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we really appreciate your likes, subscriptions. If you like food videos like this that tell you the food, but also the culture that goes along with the food, why not hit that subscribe button? We put out 1 or 2 videos every single week to help you enjoy eating around the world. Bye from here in Spain.